Welcome, engineers, and welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity News. There is a firestorm around a vulnerability that was disclosed to the state of Missouri. Let's talk about it. Okay, so first of all, what happened? On October 12th, the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in the state of Missouri was made aware of a vulnerability, i.e. data exposure on a public-facing website. This was responsibly disclosed on October 12th by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and then subsequently reported publicly by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch after that. As a result, the governor of Missouri came out and accused the individuals associated with the vulnerability discovery as hackers, and then went on to name some large number, like $50 million, it was going to be required potentially to remediate the issue or something like this. But the bigger issue that's causing the firestorm was the fact that he identified the security researchers and the individuals who responsibly disclosed the issue as hackers. Furthermore, if we think about this a little bit more technically, the way that it was described is that it was actually the researchers looked into the public-facing HTML code and discovered that some social security numbers for some teachers were held base 64 encoded on that source code. And so what that means is, right, basically base 64 encoding is an encoding type, not an encryption type, so potentially an obfuscation mechanism, but really not, right? What it is, though, is another mechanism for storing the data. It would be as if you were to write social security numbers in Chinese on a wall in a city somewhere, and then someone came by and translated it and said, hey, those are social security numbers, you probably shouldn't do that, and then you said, you're hacking me. So that's what's causing the firestorm. The pushback is pretty wild, and it's been over on Twitter and things like this. There have been some other thoughts around like political statements being made and this type of stuff. I'm more concerned with the fact that we're having trouble identifying ethical hacking and responsible vulnerability disclosure as something negative. That's really going to negatively impact the security community and the hacking community as a whole, and I think it's going to negatively impact our security postures as well if we're not allowed to do these sorts of things. And so from that perspective, I understand, the firestorm around the negative press from the governor's office. That being said, there's a bunch of really interesting articles written about it. Krebs wrote about it. I'll link the St. Louis Post in the description below, as well as the release from the governor's office, so you can take a look and understand a little bit more about what's going on social media, Twitter, and in the news regarding this kind of firestorm. This is really interesting stuff, and I think it's things that need to continue to be flushed out, right, in terms of how we handle these types of disclosures and how we understand what hacking is and what ethical hacking is and what responsible disclosure looks like and security research, as opposed to, right, those that are trying to do harm. And that being said, in this case, I think it's really cut and dry. It can get a little bit murkier, but in this case, right, it's publicly exposed data that was base 64 encoded that the researchers observed and then subsequently responsibly disclosed. I don't think that there's any question what the intent of the researchers is, and also whether they broke any rules at all. So that being said, as is always the case, engineer, break stuff, have fun, look out for more content, let's do this.